All right, guys, we're back to the draft grades again this week. AFC South is first up tonight, and we'll start with the Jags, who picked both 9th and 20th with 12 total picks. So what'd you think of their haul?
All right. So I got the Jacksonville Jaguars an A for their draft. Listen, they drafted C.J. Henderson, number 9 overall out the University of Florida. On most boards, he was, I would say, on most boards, nine out of 10. I think he was rated as the second best cornerback behind Jeff Okudah. So he was definitely a good haul. Listen, he got great instincts when he knows where the ball is at all times. And he got the potential of being a shutdown corner. We know the Jaguars want good labor. Good labor for cheap prices. And this could be possibly one of those guys for him, unless he turns into Jalen Ramsey. So, but listen, he needs to work on his tackling. At the end of the day, he's a bit of an ankle biter. He likes to dive for the ankles, and that's not going to fly at the professional level. But I do think most professional teams have people on their staff that can fix that. And then with the second pick, K'Lavon Chaisson, butcher that first name, defensive end out of LSU. They took him 20th overall. Listen, I think he's a good fit for what the Jaguars want to do with their defensive line. Just because he's a freaky, super athletic player, he can do a lot of things, move him inside, move him outside. And listen, once again, that cheap labor, you can't be mad at it. He definitely will approve that pass rush of Jacksonville. And then the third player that they took, Levinsky Shenault, the wide receiver out of Colorado with the 42nd pick, could have been drafted earlier, but he has a bit of an injury concern while he was at Colorado. Really solid wide receiver at Colorado for those of you that don't watch Pac-12 football like myself and Jake. He's like a running back that plays wide receiver because he has a running back type of frame. So that's always good. And he's a big yards after catch guy. So if you want to throw him screens, he know how to take them screens to the house. If you want to throw him short stuff, he got good hands. I heard a lot of comparisons between him and Michael Thomas. So that is high praise.
Yeah, I thought the Jaguars did reasonably well. I gave them a B+. I like what they did for the most part. C.J. Henderson with at that 9th pick. You're right. He's next best corner after Jeff Okudah, so I think that's a good pick. Only knock on his tackling. Got to get a little better on that. I love the Chaisson pick. We got to remember Yannick Ngakoue. I think the writing's on the wall. He's not going to be sticking around. He's made it very clear. So you need a guy that can come in and potentially replace him. So you got him and you got Josh Allen. Those are two guys you can really rely on the immediate future, getting pressure on the quarterback. I like the Devon Hamilton pick. He's a guy, a big fella on the inside that can help plug up some holes in that run defense. So I think they did a really nice job patching up this defense, which has been purged since that 2017 season. And then in the later rounds, I think Colin Johnson in the 5th round, I think that's some good value there. We know in addition to the guy they got in the 2nd round, the wide receiving core outside of DJ Chark, it's a little leaves a lot to be desired.
I guess. Yeah, sorry about that. I like this draft in a vacuum. You did, like you said, you landed the second best corner in the draft by most people's odds. You also landed the second best pass rusher by most people's thoughts. You have to replace some of those big departures. And Shenault, like Drink said, is a guy that can really change your offense. He can be kind of a dynamic playmaker. And that kind of Jay Gruden sort of West Coast offense, they throw a lot of short passes, and you're kind of having to make something happen. He can take a 5-yard crosser and make it 25 in a snap. So I like that. Most of the other picks I like a lot. Like you said, Jay, Devon Hamilton was a really big need. That defense, as far as the run's been bad. Even when they were good, it was bad. So the J3 picks, I thought were a mixed bag. I did like Colin Johnson. There was a couple head scratchers, but overall, what you looked at this draft as far as Jacksonville goes is they emphasize character. 11 of the 12 players in this draft were team captains. K'Lavon Chaisson wore 18 at LSU, which is like a special honor they have for your just most awesome off the field guy. And they're trying to cut that toxicity away from the team. And the one guy that wasn't a captain was Devon Hamilton, and he wasn't because Chase Young was 2 spots away down from him. So the issue I really have with this draft, though, as a whole, and why I gave it only a B, was they had an opportunity to reinvent the offense. You had a chance to just go all in, get with the modern NFL, go back to what everybody's doing. You could have gotten a premium left tackle, you could get another premium wide receiver, and instead you just kind of played it safe. You went defense, and the thing is, they're already talking about tanking around here. We're already talking about Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. That debate's already starting. So either A, Minshew makes it work with the new guys you drafted him, or B, those guys get new weapons to play with. So I thought they just played it a little safer than I liked it. So I gave them a B, but overall it's not bad. All right, move on to the Colts. We got them up next. What do you think, Drake?
Oh yeah, so with the Colts, hey, I gave them an A- for their draft. I know they first pick didn't come into the second round, but they took Michael Pittman, a wide receiver out of Southern California, with the 34th overall pick. A really strong and athletic player, but does need to work on his route running. There's nothing to really sneeze at. I guess at Southern California, you can go out there and run whatever routes you want to. However, hey, it still was good enough for him to get drafted early in the second round. So no harm, no foul. But I do think he's a guy that could come in and get them immediate help in that wide receiver core, and we'll see. And then with their second pick, Jonathan Taylor, the running back out of Wisconsin, they took him with the 41st pick. Hey, a very powerful running back. Hey, he can give the punishment as well as take the punishment in between the tackles. He is, I think he's a guy that would give the Colts a very consistent short yardage runner. You know, those 3-and-1s, those 3-and-2s, those 4th-and-1s, those goal line situations. And he'll be a nice 1-2 punch with Marlon Mack, because Marlon Mack has shown if you try to use him between the tackles, you're not going to get much out of him. So they went and drafted a stronger running back to get him a nice 1-2 punch in the backfield. And then with the third pick, they took Julian Blackmon, the safety out of Utah, with the 85th pick, a plug-and-play type of defender. He's very rangy, fast, athletic safety. They can also play corner if you want to play him in some more of a nickel package. So the only problem with him is he is recovering off ACL surgery that he had 4 months prior to the draft. So that's one thing to look at. If he bounce back, if he don't, we don't know. So yeah, those are my 3 picks for the Indianapolis Colts.
I thought the Colts did a solid job. I gave him a B. I like the Michael Pittman pick. It's no secret they need some wide receiver help. I had T. Higgins pegged for them, but he was swiped just the pick right before this one. So they got a little unlucky there. But Pittman's a good guy that I think he's a similar type guy as a big receiver. I think his skill set will complement what they have with T.Y. Hilton. So I think that was a really good pick. Jonathan Taylor pick, I like it. I didn't think it was a huge deed. I thought they were pretty well served at the running back position already. But they're only doubling down on what was a pretty big strength for them last year. I think him and Marlon Mack, I think what they're telling you is they want to be a team that is ground and pound. They run the football, take some pressure off Phillip Rivers, limit the amount of throws he has to make and the amount of times that defensive pass rushes can come after him. And then in the later rounds, I thought the Jacob Eason pick, I think it's a pick that is suitable for this team. We know Phillip Rivers is only going to be in there 1 year. I think Jacob Eason is the type of quarterback that could benefit from a year or two, perhaps, sitting on the sidelines, learning behind some of these veterans. But I do think ultimately he does have the tools that he could succeed.
Yeah, I thought this to me was the best draft of the division. They had a solid plan going in to kind of build around Phillip Rivers. And like you said, they got a small window. You got to maximize his time there. Pittman's a guy, 6'4", big frame, and he had a less than 3% drop rate during his time at USC. He should be a really productive guy right off the drop. And I do think that Jonathan Taylor, I like him, and I like him in the Colts offense, but they did trade up for him. And it kind of nerfs that value just a little bit to me. But overall, I can definitely see why they did it. And with behind that really, really good offensive line they already got, he should be, from day one, productive, which again, with Pittman and Taylor, you're talking about day one guys that can come in and immediately be effective. Julian Blackmon's a guy that plays better at safety as a corner, and I think that this may have been part of the Malik Hooker thing we were just talking about. And the Easton pick is interesting because I'm curious now to see if they're going to keep all 3 quarterbacks. Do you keep these guys, Rivers, Brissett, and Eason, or do you try to maybe move Jacoby? Does maybe New England call? But neither here nor there. I just thought that was an curious pick. But overall, I think that this was a draft that really, when you also factor in using their first pick for DeForest Buckner coming to town, the team got a lot better right after this draft, and that's what they needed to do. So I gave them an A-. I will hit you up for the Titans, Jay. Pretty solid, huh?
Yeah, I thought the Titans did a pretty good job, and the biggest reason I thought they did well in their first 2 picks, I had Isaiah Wilson pegged for them weeks ago. I thought his size and his ability to run block really fit in with what they like to do offensively. So I thought that pick was a slam dunk, especially with the departure of Jack Conklin. And then Christian Fulton in the second round, I thought that was definitely, we just talked about this, cornerback is a position they've had with Logan Ryan leaving, with Malcolm Butler, his status seemingly questionable for years now. I think Christian Fulton makes a lot of sense. So those 2 biggest reasons, I think they nailed those 2 picks and they get a B+.
Yeah, listen, me and Jay was lockstep when it came to Isaiah Wilson. I don't know how we did it, but we pretty pretty much strongly felt that he would land with Tennessee, and he did. No rhyme or reason. Offensive tackle out of Georgia, they took him 29th overall. Listen, he's one of the best, if not the best, run blocker in the draft. A good replacement for Jack Conklin. Might go through some growing pains, but listen, I think he will be worth it when it's all said and done. Then with their second pick, Christian Fulton, the cornerback out of LSU, they took him 61st. Hey, he's athletic. His athletic and mental talent can match any receiver that he steps up with, and I think that's very important. Now, he has room to improve with the tackling and the body positioning down the field, because his height, it's kind of easy to throw the ball over his head. So he does need to work on those two things. But at the end of the day, the dude is going to be a stud. And then with their third pick, Darlington Evans, the running back out of Appalachian State, they took him with the 93rd pick. Listen, he's an explosive runner with plenty of juice and wiggle. Like, the dude can move. A very good complementary piece to Henry and company. So you're not worried about him coming in doing nothing spectacular because you know who the A side is. You know who the bell cow is. But while he's working his way in that rotation, he needs to work on his spotted vision, and he needs to work on his slow processing skills. He needs to get both of those fixed, so when he do get called up to the big time, he's ready to go.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty average draft to me. I think the one thing I have with Isaiah Wilson, y'all are absolutely right. As far as his run blocking is concerned, he's an absolute road paver, and he does fit well with their philosophy. And it looks like they're going to really try to put him at right tackle. But I would be concerned with his size and frame if he's going to struggle with some of the more bendy, fast edge rushers. But that could be something that maybe he moves to guard eventually. But overall, again, I think it's a smart pick for the team. Christian Fulton was an absolute steal. 61st overall. Are you kidding me? I have no clue how he fell this far. I mean, he was a wet blanket at LSU. And even you have to also compound that with the fact that he was the guy thrown to a little bit more because Derek Stingley was so good. Teams were trying to stay away from him if they could. And Fulton had some of the highest grades as far as like pass breakups and things like that. I mean, he was tested. I mean, he really passed it with flying colors at LSU against some of the better talented teams in the college football. So I thought he'd be long gone by even like 20 or 30, much less 61. Gosh, that could have been one of the biggest steals of the draft. And Darrington Evans is nice. He's a little bit of a reach, but he does complement Henry really well. So I like that pick. And, other than that, I don't have a lot else for him. I thought it was okay. I gave it a C+. We'll finish up with you, Jay, on the Texans. What do you think of our favorite GM's draft?
You know what? I think Texas fans will be pleased to know I'm taking the day off from the Bill O'Brien hate train. You got to remember when we went through the needs for this team, I gave needs. I ain't even bother picking specific players because he ain't gonna take into account what I'm saying. But I will say this: I thought the Ross Blacklock pick, I did like that. I think with the defensive line, you lost G.J. Reader, so you got to rebuild that defensive line, get a little bit stronger in there. But you know what? They only have 5 picks. This is what happens when you make a bunch of nonsense trades throughout your time as a GM when you're supposed to be coaching because the ownership don't know what's going on. But C+, you get a passing grade. You slightly above average, just whatever.
Yeah, I gave the Texans a B-. Listen, Russ Blaylock, the defense tackle out of TCU, they took him 40th overall. I think he got drafted around the area that he should have. I thought they did very well with drafting him in a prospective spot. And he should be an immediate impact guy, and the Texans definitely going to need him to be one. He should be a day one starter. Then with the second pick, they took Jonathan Greenyard, the defensive end out of Florida, with the 90th pick. In my opinion, he's a 50-50 pick. I'm not quite sold that he can hit, but I'm not going to call him a miss either. So I'll be very interested to see how he adjusts to, playing football at the professional level. And then the third pick, Charlie Heck, the offensive tackle out of North Carolina with the 126th pick. Hey, he went earlier than what most scouts was looking at. If you actually look at his numbers, like this was one of those offensive tackles that was probably like down, and down. But he went high, so I ain't mad at him. Hey, listen, he got a very high Q about being an offensive line because his daddy was also an offensive lineman in the NFL, so that should help. And he should crack the offensive line early, in my opinion, but they're going to need him to.
Yeah, this was an example of a draft that, I mean, they had too many holes to fill, right? So, I mean, no matter what they picked, it was going to look like less impressive. I thought it was fine. The Blacklock pick, again, DJ Reader's departure, that defensive line is quickly kind of, I don't know, let's say falling apart, but definitely they're starting to have some more struggles on what was used to be a really good defensive line. And I can't see him having a massive day one impact just because he does lack as a pass rusher. And he's one of these guys that are kind of a run stuffer first. They're going to have to develop that second level to their game. And it does sound like they got stuck with Jonathan Grenard. I think there was a talk about, they had a trade with Detroit set up and then it fell through and Bill O'Brien was like throwing his cat across the room or something. I don't remember the whole thing about it, but I don't know if they even were really looking for Grenard. This to me would have been a pick I would have tried to do something to help out Deshaun Watson with. I think Grenard's a fine player. If you get him the third day, that's fine, but a little bit of a reach in the third round. I saw him play a good bit at Florida, and he did struggle against the better tackles in the SEC. Just doesn't have that like extra athleticism to get around a lot of these players. So overall, though, he's not really going to help on the decline of J.J. Watt either. But and the rest of the picks are pretty meh to me. So I just gave him a flat C on this one. That's even factoring in the Tunzel trade, which did give him some help last year. But yeah, quit trading on your draft picks, Bill.